You're listening to In Conversation, the video podcast of Banyan Books and Sound. I'm your host, Farhan Israeli, and I'm very honored to be here with Mingyur Rinpoche. He's a much-loved meditation master and Tibetan Buddhist teacher, and author of several books. His latest book is called In Love with the World, which recounts his 4 years on a wandering retreat in India and the Himalayas. So wonderful to have you here, Rinpoche.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So I'd like to start off with asking the big question, why? You were abbot of a monastery in Bodh Gaya. I imagine it was a very comfortable, familiar life and very esteemed role, and you left it all.
I'm inspired, and we have this tradition called wandering retreat. So when I was young, my mother used to read books about those great meditators in the Tibet, the life story of those meditators. And then I was born in Himalaya mountain in Nepal. So winter is quite cold and we all get together around fire. And then my mother read a book. And after a certain level, my grandma will cry and I cry and we all cry. So that really give me really kind of like great aspiration. And then normally I like mountains and nature. So I did retreat for 3 years retreat. And in the retreat, we discussed about how to meditate. You can meditate everywhere, anytime. So I was this inspiration and it with me for a long time then. And in 2011, I decided then I go to the wandering retreat.
What was it about those stories that gave you the inspiration? Was there realizations that those wandering yogis had on retreat, or was it the adventure of doing something completely different?
Yeah, so the main thing is about why we do this wandering retreat is adding wood to the fire. So first we went to practice meditation with the kind of like with the right circumstances. And then if you go to the many different kind of like environment, especially with the challenge, with a lot of difficult situations, so we can practice meditation with those difficult circumstances. So that really helped us to improve our meditation.
And in your retreat, what were some of the most difficult situations and circumstances that you faced?
In my retreat, so although I'm learning meditation since when I was 9 years old, and over the time, I really want to do this wandering retreat, and I prepare about going on the street. But the most difficult is when I leave my monastery, I'm suddenly out there alone. So normally my life is very comfortable. Everywhere I go, there's a lot of people take care of me, and I never stay alone even one day. So that was suddenly really big, difficult. So almost like what I imagine, it's kind of like naive. So when you really come on the street, there's a lot of things that I have to learn and a lot of things that emotional level, physical level, environment level, a lot of difficult challenge.
Did it, in these difficult circumstances and unfamiliar situations, did it sharpen and deepen your experience and practice of meditation?
Yeah, I think it really helps me. I think I learned two things. The first, it really enhanced my meditation. So even though you face this difficult situation, at the beginning of retreat, I almost died because of the food poison. So very difficult, but because of my meditation, it really helps. I almost died, but that was one of the best experience in my life. It really helps. The second important thing is what I learned is I learned a lot of things about life, and I have to go there alone and I have to survive everything by myself. And I remember that when I went to the mountains and I have to make fire. So to make fire, it takes few days to make fire. In the end, I was very happy. Oh, now there's fire. And what I have to do is I have to boil hot water. And it took me 2 hours to boil one hot water. After the water is boiled, I was so happy. And when I begin to drink, it tastes like smoke because I was, blowing the fire and then just producing a lot of smoke. So actually, I learned a lot about the life.
Tell us a little bit about the your near-death experience. I mean, that must have been a profound experience to be so close to death and to have survived it. What was that like?
Yes, so the food after I have few thousand rupees at the beginning. I have few thousand Indian rupees. Then all this money finished within 3 weeks. So then I was on the street. So no money to buy food. And then I went to one restaurant and begged the food. They said, oh, you come in the night before they close the restaurant. So then I went there and they give me leftover food. So that I think might be not so clean. So I had that. Then that night I began to have diarrhea and vomiting. And next day continued. So for 5 days, I only drink the palm wheel water. So then that was really kind of like difficult. And then in the end, I become paralyzed, cannot see, cannot hear. And then what I did is I just practiced meditation. So what we call the essence of meditation is to be with the awareness. So although there's a lot of different experience there, I feel like falling, then losing the senses, then body become paralyzed. But my mind has become clear. When I rest more with this awareness, mind become more clear, more open. In the end, there's not like thought, not like the feeling that what we have this sensation in the body, thought with the image, all this, these are gone. But mind is really fast, completely open, and I know what's going on, but then there's not really words about what I'm experiencing. So almost beyond concept yet knows when I'm present. So I'm in that state for a few hours, and that is really give me great insight about my meditation.
Is that state the goal of meditation practice?
Goal of meditation practice is to connect with the awareness, which is always with us, but it is not that to get rid of thought and emotion and feeling. So, but when we die, it comes automatically byproduct because of the dying. So we have this dying meditation. So meditators die with the meditation. My father, when my father died, he was in the dying meditation for 3 days. My grandpa also great meditator, and he was in that state for 3.5 days. So when you are in the dying meditation, your body not suddenly become rotten, and almost you look like normal, you look like smiling and face glowing. Then after 3 days later, the meditation finished. As soon as the meditation finished, the body become like this, and then change everything, swollen, everything like that. So dying meditation is when we die with this joyful, non-conceptual experience, be with that state. So that's what we call dying meditation. So that is not the particular goal of meditation. When we practice in this life, of course, we have thought and emotion and feeling. These are okay.
Let's explore that a little bit further, because that seems an easy route to take in context of our subject. But all emotions, how can one develop the ability to be in awareness even when very strong, unpleasant emotions arise?
So what we call awareness is like sky. Thought, emotion, feeling, memory, all these are like cloud. So no matter how much cloud in the sky or what kind of cloud, it doesn't matter for the sky. Beautiful cloud, ugly cloud, storm or blue sky. For the sky, it doesn't matter. So awareness is like sky, always present there. And then thought, emotion, feeling, memory is like cloud, comes and goes, comes, goes. So the meditation is to connect with the awareness, not try to get rid of thought and feeling, emotion. So when we more connect with awareness itself, then we are not lost in the thought and emotion. So to do that, the step-by-step practice. So begin with the what we call breathing meditation. So you are aware of your breath. So the breath is the object of your meditation. Breathing in, breathing out. And there's a two type of meditation, the object-oriented or subject-oriented. The object-oriented meditation meaning the breath is important. Stay with the breath. And for us is the subject-oriented. The awareness is important. So to maintain awareness, breath is just object. So you learn this with the breath. Eventually, you can watch your own feeling, like stress, sensation in your body, the stress, panic, depression. Same like you're watching the breath, you can watch them. And so normally what we call, if you see the river, you're out of river. You don't have to stop the river. So when you see panic, when you see the feeling of stress, that means there's space between you and the stress. Yeah.
In addition to emotions, can you talk a little bit about self and the identity that we have that is part of our personality, and how subject meditation may help us to break through that or break free of that?
Yeah, so there are three self. So what we call unhealthy sense of self and healthy sense of self, and then self beyond self. So there's three layers. The first is unhealthy, which is very sensitive, easy to cry, easy to laugh, easy to froze, easy to burn. If someone says something slightly wrong, you feel unhappy days. Someone says something nice and suddenly happy. So that's a really like very sensitive and delicate. So that's the service level. And below that, there's healthy sense of self. And that self is connected with the more open, clear, clarity, what we call the sense of love, compassion, wisdom. So unhealthy sense of self says, you have to win and others have to lose. But the healthy sense of self says, we all are same. Kind and compassion is important. So you can do experiment that whatever, if you follow to the unhealthy sense of self, even you achieve a lot, you will not really feel the deep peace, joy that comes inside you. You still feel hollow. But if you listen to a healthy sense of self, like do social work, help others, you really feel happy from inside. So the real you is more connected with the healthy sense of self. Then below that, what we call the self beyond me, or sometimes what we call luminous self. So that is the boundless, free, and that is the awareness like sky, that always with us. And that's a peaceful, calm, present. But we are not recognized that. Not so easy to recognize.
If we can talk a little bit more about the healthy sense of self. How is that connected with free will?
So the healthy sense of self actually is calling us all the time. So no matter how much you achieve, the deeper level, there's still something more. This is not the meaning of life. What is this all about? So there's kind of genuine question is there. So when you explore that question, the real meaning of life is something which is connected with the love, compassion, something which is connected with the care about you and others. So that healthy sense of self is the real kind of like who we are actually.
And, you know, speaking on love and compassion, you titled the book In Love with the World. Tell us a little bit about that title and what your experience was in coming up with that to describe the book.
Yeah, at the beginning when I went to the on the street, I feel like, why I'm here? I'm not belong here. I see the streets very dirty, unsafe, a lot of dogs around me. And in the daytime, we are okay with the dogs. And nighttime, when I move a little bit, they all chase me, you know. And scary. So then I have this almost die experience. Then in the end, I rest in the awareness. Then I come back. So when I come back, everything's changed now. Now I feel like so happy to be alive. The street become like my home. And I remember there's a tree in front of me. And when I look at the tree, wow, the tree is so alive. So the leaves are shining. And what I call the tree become like, tree is made by love. And wind blows to my face, feeling so pleasant, joy, so much appreciation, gratitude. Then after that, for me, like unsafe, the feeling of unsafe is gone. I feel like everywhere is like my home. So normally what I call is, if you love the world loves you back. So it really helps the rest of my journey. It's really, really become kind of like joyful, because that the tense inside me, unsafe and all these are gone. Once I free, kind of like walk with it and free, then all of a sudden I find a lot of other opportunities, a lot of kind of like, even though I know where I should go, where to find food. So a lot of things happen byproduct of that.
Do you think that that's insight that's relevant to modern people, that the experience of inside is reflected on the outside, that somehow our inner and outer worlds are connected?
Yeah, so in and outer really connect for me. Like when we think, for example, I have one friend and he was army before, and he had the general, which is quite strict, and he don't believe anybody. He think, everybody, have to be controlled and have a lot of rules in the army camp. You cannot go after 7 p.m. Then you have to do all this. And people don't like him, actually. And they are breaking the rules and they're cheating him. And few years later, they changed the general. And the new general is full of love. And he trusts everybody. Oh, you all are mature. And of course, we have these rules, but you can see whether sometimes, if you have some important, you just go and you don't have to tell me even. And we all try our best, and then it's flexible, I believe you, I trust you. At the beginning, all this, his friend, they don't believe, oh, maybe it is a trap or something. It's not real. But they slowly believe. Then they all really like this new general, and they support this new general. And actually the rules and the discipline, everything become much better. So it's become really productive. Everybody really support, and they work together and love each other. So I think it's really important how your belief shape the world for you.
I would like to speak a little bit about sleep and dreaming, and the chapter that you wrote about how when we fall asleep, there's a dissolution of senses and we're not even aware of what happens. I mean, other than remembering dreams. Can you just speak a little bit about the importance of sleep and sleep meditation and what that is and the purpose of it?
Yeah, so in the what we call in the Bardo meditation. So this book is about the death and dying. My new book, In Love with the World. So I use my own experience about almost die as the practice, as part of the kind of like story in the book. So normally Bardo practice is like Bardo meaning in between or intermediate or in transition. So in between these moments are really precious moments that if you know how to be with this moment, then actually you can transform that whatever you want to transform. It's more easy. Because normally we have this a lot of conceptual or fixed mind. So during this moment, this fixed concept, fixed mind dies normally. And we need to let die ourselves. If you don't die, you cannot rebirth. So like break up, lose job, suddenly something great thing happen. Or children 18 years old move away from home. Everything survive by yourself. Or a lot of things like that in our life we are facing those things. So these things are kind of like Bardo in between moment. Very important. And another thing is going to sleep. Best is the moment of the dying. And the having dream state. All these are also in between the state. So when we go to sleep, actually we are dying. We die, our concept, our memory, our all this die, and then there's a dissolution experience. We feel like we're falling, floating, burn, a little bit shake like this. And then we feel blown away in the end. And then feel a little bit dark, and then feel almost unconscious. And suddenly there's 1 second or half second, very peaceful state of mind. And if we be in that state, whole sleep become meditation. So that is what we call sleeping meditation. But it's very fast. During the sleep, we don't feel it. But when we're going to die, we will have this experience. For me, I had a very clear experience that when I almost died, falling, floating, or there's a long, clear. So I thought, when I really die, if I have like this, I can meditate.
So I'm so curious to hear you speak about just the value of understanding all the small ways that we must learn to die in our everyday lives. And what does it look like to let go and to die to our old perceptions or thoughts?
Yep. So first important is you need to accept the life is like wave of the ocean. life is like stock market. So what we call impermanence, practice of impermanence, changing up and down, up and down. The stock market go up and down, so we make business, right? If the stock market is flat, then you cannot have business. So actually life go up and down is great. We learn from up and down. We grow from up and down. So sometimes what we call obstacle is the best opportunity. When you look at the history, all the great successful persons, they fail a lot at the beginning. And they learn from that. They not give up. So the thing is, we have to accept that and continue to grow. Learn from obstacle, learn from problem. So what we call, don't give up, but let it go. Let it go meaning accept the nature of reality and follow the flow of the nature. At the same time, don't give up. Continue to grow, continue to learn. So that's the Bardo. How to practice the Bardo. So when we are facing big problem, actually that might be opening new door. Might be we learn something great insight of that. Maybe that's the best opportunity. What happened later in your life. So whatever our fixed belief, the concept, let go. And then don't give up. We all have great capacity. We all have great talents. We all are unique. We have love, compassion, wisdom, capacity. So try your best. And then that is really, really, for me, great practice and life become exciting.
I'd like to ask you about one of my favorite Zen quotes, because I think it very much applies to your life, and that is, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. And you were in a role before you went on this retreat, and you're in the role again. What's changed?
Yeah, for me, first, when I went out there, of course, it's very challenging at the beginning, but the later, it's a really, really great insight. And coming back, I have to be prepared to face with the busy schedule, teaching. And I really like teaching because this meditation practice has really changed my life. Kind of like what now, who I am now is because of this meditation practice. So I really believe this. Then I really want to share this to others. So I feel normally kind of like sharing this to others. This is kind of my job. So when I come back, I don't really feel big gap, stay in the mountain alone and suddenly face with other people or uncomfortable or this. I don't feel any particular tense. But the one I remember that when I come back to my monastery and I want to open my bag, and suddenly I saw 6 hands around my bag. What happened? Because people like to help me, They all want to help me. So that was quite, Otherwise, I'm happy to be back also.
And lastly, what is your aspiration for this book and your teaching tour?
So I hope this book really benefit. Nowadays, the world is really facing anxiety. So when I finished my retreat, they said, "Oh, this is age of anxiety." There's a lot of anxiety. So the next problem is that we have this anxiety problem, and the basis of this anxiety is death and dying, actually. So when we try to ignore death and dying, the fear grows. Fear becomes even stronger. But we can face it and we can learn from that. And actually, it really helps. So I hope this benefit for kind of like know how to work with the fear and eventually how to work with the death and dying.
Thank you so much. It's been so wonderful to share time with you and listen about the experiences you had and the insights, and also just to learn more about different practices that you teach. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. You're most welcome.